This is the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast.
Oh no! We suck again!
I'm getting confused. What game are you calling?
I'm calling both games.
It is caught by Kelsey! Touchdown! Kansas City!
I need 3 of those things, baby. We ain't done yet. We ain't done yet. You like that? You like that? I like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ruckus and The Menace episode of the Sports Podcast number 127. I am Ruckus, always Customer Ruckus.
And I'm Ruckus the Menace.
And we have our transaction log where Spence will start that, but before that we have the good, the bad, the ugly. Then we have our high heat with the NFL Week 15 recap. And then for our color commentary, we will talk about the MLB free agency period so far as signings and whatnot. And then we have our football pick'ems for college football and the National Football League pick'ems. And then we will finalize this transaction with the stud and dud of the week. And Spence, go for it.
All right. Our opening set of news. The opening set of news is that, as far as plans, the Dynasty Mode transition has begun, as from Group of 5 to Natty finished this weekend, and now we are on country roads to the Natty, as Coach Spence had gotten the job in Morgantown as the West Virginia head coach. Will we find out that after winning one national championship, does it bear for a second? Only way to find out is watch. But, transaction log. Colorado's Travis Hunter wins the Heisman Trophy playing both ways, becoming the first to do it since Charles Woodson in 1997, which Ruckus didn't even know about earlier. Before today.
Guilty.
Over Ashton Jonty, Dylan Gabriel, and Cam Ward. And Rich Rodriguez. Rich Rod has returned to WVU 16 years after leaving Morgantown to go to Ann Arbor after the 2007 season. And then Bill Belichick is not on to Cincinnati. He's on to the University of North Carolina, as he has become the head coach of the Tar Heels.
Apparently, for Bill Belichick, though, I saw a report that he apparently did talk to the Jets front office to see if they had anything available, and they said no. Fun fact.
Yep. But now we can roll that tumbleweed as we get into the Eastwood segment. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Wah, wah, wah. All right. What you got?
Was something not working?
No, I just, it was just a little bit of delay because I pressed it and then waited. It's all good.
All right.
We do it live!
The good in the sports this week is the Emirates NBA Cup, which I feel has ultimately been a net good for the NBA, but we also like to call it here on the Ruckus and the Menace Sports Podcast, the Shuttlecock Games has its 2 finalists, as the Milwaukee Bucks and Oklahoma City Thunder compete for the 2nd annual championship. And when this recording releases, it will be later on tonight, as of release date.
Yay.
But I've loved that the Emirates NBA Cup has been ultimately something that has brought revenue and brought more of an interest to the NBA and has made basketball, which has been an international sport for a good amount of time. Just about everywhere in the world, you're going to see a basketball program, especially in Europe, South America, that it brings in-season tournaments are a way that these international sports have additional games on the schedule or even just bring additional revenue to the teams. And it's not a surprise that you see it all in season because the NBA does a great job of also of giving you an indication of this is this type of game because of the type of money there. But they've got a whole bunch of money to be able to spend, to be able to have those extra floor panels that they keep for these things. So yes, I think that the Emirates NBA Cup in its brief history has been a good thing. I know for the most part, generally, we don't care about the NBA that much.
Did they use the same
But
panels like they did in All-Star Weekend, or is it a different thing? Like more so like
I
the
guess
hardwood
I
is
guess it's
changed?
more like the actual hardwood. I think it's the actual hardwood.
Okay, because I remember they like did a bunch of designs for it, and I just didn't really care.
Oh
for
yeah,
them.
those panels. I just think the only issue with the panels is that they almost looked like they were for the All-Star game. Is that they almost look like they're too bright.
Yeah, that's why I thought they were obnoxious. But
Yeah,
anyways,
they're obnoxious. They just were too bright because it just made everybody. It basically made everybody who was doing the 3-point shootout look like they were an NBA version of the Incredible Hulk with all the gamma radiation.
yeah.
I know, that was really bad. Shut up. On to the bad this week.
Well, speaking of bads, Spanish talking. No, I'm just kidding. The bad this week is Randy Moss's health issue, which was announced that it is liver cancer. He has had surgery, but will still need to go through radiation and chemotherapy. Um, we give our condolences at this time for the Moss family, and hope that he has a steady and safe recovery. And yeah, that's all I gotta say about that.
Another product of the great state of West Virginia. Yeah, basically, if you don't know, definitely watch the ESPN 30 for 30 called Rand University, because that tells you a little bit more about where Randy Moss was from and kind of the other things that were involved with it. As yeah, he was as yes, he even played high school hoops with white chocolate, as in Jason Williams white chocolate. But the downright ugly, who we will definitely be scrutinizing here, is 49ers linebacker Devondre Campbell, who had played just about every single game up to this point, just all of a sudden says, I don't want to play football. As he refused to enter the game against the Los Angeles Rams on Thursday Night Football, basically pulling an Eric Cartman and getting suspended for the final 3 games and having his locker emptied for conduct or detrimental to the team.
Man, the way you played that was like the Timu version of Eric Cartman when you're like, well, I'm going home, but come on, man. Put a little oomph on it. You gotta do it like this.
No,
Hold on. Let me get
that
into
wasn't.
character. Let me get into character. Screw you guys, I'm going home.
I wasn't even trying for an Eric Cartman impersonation. I was
Of
trying to go
course.
for the I'm scared. I don't want to play football. I don't know. There was some sort of character. I think there was a character I was going with there, but I don't think I was necessarily serious about pulling an Eric Cart, like saying Eric Cartman was my frame of reference I was wanting to do.
Well, screw you guys.
If that makes any
I'm
sense at all.
going home. All right. This has been a ruck. No, I'm just kidding. Are we ready for the
He
next
just
part?
decided he was gonna take his thing and say, "I'm done." But yeah, we can now move on to the high heat as he has already been scrutinized heavily enough by us, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, Unk. I think Unk even had something to say about that. But now we can move on to the rest of the NFL Week 15 recap. We still got 2 Monday Night Football games going on tonight. So we will not be having any sort of conversation right now about either the Bears-Vikings game, where the Vikings currently lead 13-0,
Nice.
or the Falcons-Raiders game, where the Falcons currently lead 9-3. Yes, you heard me say this right. 9-3. As Alexander Madison got stuffed for a safety. It is a touchdown and a safety that the Falcons have as they lead by 6. That's at the half. The Vikings Bears game is currently in the third quarter. And this is at time of recording.
Correct.
But the first game we're going to talk about here is a little bit of a point counterpoint for Ruckus and I, as the Chiefs defeated the Browns 21-7, but not without the small price to pay that came with another high ankle sprain for Patrick Mahomes. Does this injury hurt the Chiefs' chances of making a deeper run into the playoffs?
The short answer is no, but the long answer for me is sit Mahomes next game, let Carson Wentz play and whatnot. If Mahomes is feeling up to it for the Christmas game, then sure. But if depending on how things go, I think the offense will always find ways to win with Wentz. You got Andy Reid, which is a big mentor and also just very good with playing his cards right, and also just the talent that he's got there. I personally think that they'll be just fine. I think of Carson Wentz kind of like Fat Henny. Like anything can happen in a good way, not in a bad way with Wentz. And we have both talked about Carson Wentz on the podcast before, giving him crap, but it was for good reason. But in what way? I think we'll be okay.
I will say this. Does it hurt them? I'll say that it at least doesn't help. It's a little nagging nuisance if you've caught on to really the breakdown of Patrick Mahomes and the history of high ankle sprains. But
Super Bowl MVPs.
But that's besides the fact that he won a Super Bowl with a high ankle sprain, I am going to say that the reason why I don't think it helps is the 3-game schedule that the Chiefs have on the back end is a little brutal. As they have the Texans, the Steelers, and the Broncos. Mahomes has not really had his best season as far as being able to pass the ball effectively. But Carson Wentz, compared to what Patrick Mahomes can do mobility-wise, is a little more of a sitting duck. He's a little more of a Carson Wentz can move, but he is a little more of a sitting duck in the pocket as opposed to Patrick Mahomes. He's not as fast. I believe Wentz is also a little bit taller. I think Wentz is
I
Wentz
feel
is
like most of
significant.
the reason that Wentz was also a outlier for the Chiefs as far as because he could have easily been cut during the preseason or whatnot, but like he has good QB sneak potential, and he had that in with the Eagles. Like
Oh, I'm
he's
not denying that he's
he's
good.
I'm just saying he has the potential. Like, yeah, Henny didn't really have the characteristics of like running very fast either, but he still managed to get it done. Like, it's just luck at the end of the day. That's my point.
No,
Is like it's mainly just luck, and it's been
yeah, I'm
kind of
saying,
almost proven in a crazy way.
but then I also am in that argument of home field advantage. Where do the Chiefs really want to be when it comes to the AFC Championship game?
At
Honestly,
home,
they would really want to be. They would really want to be in the comforts of Arrowhead.
yes, and especially when it's
But
really cold.
but here's the other part. And this is where ultimately I'm going to say this is the reason why I don't think it helps. Is that between the two teams that are potentially chasing for home field advantage in the AFC, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans. Or no, not the Houston Texans. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills have a much easier road to getting to home field advantage and having the AFC Championship game, or at least the road to the Super Bowl, go through Orchard Park than it currently does for it to go through Arrowhead. Especially if Mahomes does not play and Carson Wentz plays to about half of the effectiveness of what Mahomes can bring to a table. So, yes, this is ultimately the reason why I say, could it hurt him? Possibly. But I don't think that the injury to Mahomes helps them as much as it really lets on. That's just where my take is on it.
Yep, I ain't got no haters.
But the Bills winning, and well, speaking of the Bills, they defeated the Detroit Lions 48-42 in another track meet. And Josh Allen with another 40 plus point fantasy football game. But the question here is, was this game a small little sneak peek of at least a potential Super Bowl scenario?
I think if the Bills keep doing what the Bills are doing as far as offense and defense, they'll do well. I've said this before in the past, and I still believe in it. The Lions kind of showed weakness when they allowed the Bills to score 2 touchdowns at the start, and then they finally kind of got a groove. But I feel like it wasn't fast enough to get ahead, and that's the Achilles heel of the Lions is just not fast enough or not making the right uh, cards play at the right time.
I
So
think I think
we'll
that
see.
I think that this is a potential scenario, but unfortunately, one half of Sonic and Knuckles will not be there if it ends up coming down to that scenario. As David Montgomery, the Knuckles half of the running back duo, is out for the season with an MCL sprain. Yeah, he is electing to go for surgery to. They are electing to go for surgery on that knee to try and put that there, as it's just a he's undergoing additional testing on his knee and getting a second opinion, but he's saying that it looks like it's going to require surgery that's going to put him out the rest of the season. and he had gotten it at some point yesterday. He tried to play through it and got it checked out and realized that was what it was. So it was a sprained MCL, but it was a bad enough sprain to put him out and require surgery. So a little scary if you are a Detroit Lions fan, but I would say this. I don't think you fully give up hope on that as a possibility. Because you still have Jahmyr Gibbs. There's no major injury going on to Amon-Ra St. Brown or
That
very
is
much of the
true.
passing attack.
Right.
So I think the passing attack could be where I think the Detroit Lions make their bigger difference. Especially moving forward. Is it a little scary? Yes. Do I think it's possible? Absolutely. But it does make the Lions look a little more one-dimensional because they don't have the second half of that dangerous running back combination. The next game we have is the Battle of Pennsylvania. As the Eagles on the eastern end of PA defeat the Steelers 27-13. Are the Eagles now starting to figure out the passing game a bit more? Or is this more of an appeasement game for Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, or more so A.J. Brown for Jalen Hurts?
I think it was a love letter overall to the offense for the Eagles, as far as the passing game.
I think it is an interesting testament of adaptability because the Eagles were intentional about passing on the Steelers. And the Steelers were defensively less effective against the pass than they were against the run. So yes, Saquon Barkley was going to take a step back. And yes, that very well could hurt fantasy football owners who have Saquon Barkley on your rosters. As Saquon Barkley, who was leading the league in rushing and was projected to have a great game, unfortunately did not had a little bit of a stinker. And that was because the passing game proved to be the more effective method for how the Eagles and how certain other teams actually have gotten by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Granted that the Steelers were also without George Pickens again. So their passing game was so the Steelers' passing game was not as effective, and the running game did not execute either. But I think that this was a sign that the Eagles offensively are one of the most adaptable teams. And this could be the team that I think could overtake the Lions potentially. Number one, for home field advantage. And number two, potentially even the NFC Championship. The last game we will talk about here is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeating the Los Angeles Chargers and their high-ranked defense 40-17. And the question here is, are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers looking tougher than what their 8-6 record shows?
I feel like this is kind of a weird circumstance for the Chargers because I should have figured that their secondary would be good and their inside defense, but apparently the Bucks figured it out what to do against the Chargers. I guess they are a bit tougher.
That also, I think, may also prove to be a good credit to Mike Evans as a receiver.
Yep.
9 receptions, 159 yards, and a pair of tutties. Of course, Mike Evans is gonna he is an underrated fantasy football receiver, but I think he is just a really good wide receiver and someone who I honestly, within his first 2 or 3 ballots, should be a member of Canton. I believe he is a Canton-worthy wide receiver. But as far as the actual answer to the question, absolutely, the Bucks are tougher than what their record shows. Testament to that, they are currently one of the few teams that defeated the Detroit Lions. They are the team that also put a hurting on the Philadelphia Eagles. They lost to the Ravens by 10. They lost to the Chiefs by 6. And yes, they did just blow out the Chargers. But where I'm really seeing it is Tampa Bay also has the potential to run the table for their final 3 games. Yes, the next one is on Sunday, going to Jerry World. But then their last 2 games are at Raymond James, where you have the Carolina Panthers and the New Orleans Saints. I think if Tampa Bay wins all 3 of those, which I think they really can do, the division will be theirs, and they likely, I'm just saying, they're going to finish out as a 3 seed. They finish out as a 3 seed in the NFC. Because I really wholeheartedly believe that they have the best chance.
We shall see. All right, ready for the
But
color
now
commentary? I was saying, what are we doing? Color commentary time.
we move as the hot stove in the MLB intermeetings. We begin, and that kind of overshadowed some moves, but we're now really going to get into it as we are grading some moves. The first move on the grade scale is Willie Adames to the San Francisco Giants for 7 years, $182 million. Ruckus, how do you grade the move?
I think it's a B, especially because there is still some uncertainty with Willie Adames in his career with his just the way he has trended. Because when he was with the Rays, he was doing pretty well for a couple years, and then he kind of died off, and then that's why they traded him to the Brewers, and then he spent some time with the Brewers, and then got pretty good. But that's why I think he's a B, because like you don't know his true potential, but also you spend a lot of money plus years to secure your future shortstop with the as far as just the sandstone or whatever, or um, but yeah, he just like is cemented into that culture now. For now,
I am going to grade this move for the San Francisco Giants here. I actually am going to give it a B plus. I think it is a B plus. I'm not going to go A minus. I don't think that this move is fully an A, but I think a B plus kind of sits about right. It's an age 29 shortstop, 7-year contract that puts him to pretty much about age 36. His peak OPS is still roughly around 760 career. But he had a near 800 last season. He was 10th in MVP voting. 112 RBIs, 32 home runs while batting. Where is his batting average here? He batted 251. So he's not hitting the ball. He's not hitting the ball overly well. But I think on top of that, you're really looking more so for the balance of it. I think a B plus, especially since they also lost Brandon Crawford to retirement.
Yeah.
I think that it settles out and gives the Giants a shortstop that they can build around. Especially because there's about 6 positions that he could play. But finished 10th, but he was top 10. He was a top 10 MVP. So there's always a possibility here that Willy Adames could find something to pop off, especially in that Giants lineup. There's always something.
Yep.
The next one, Jordan Romano to the Philadelphia Phillies as a potential relief pitcher. How do we grade that one?
I see it when I believe it. Romano, you better be actually relieving with those Vicks vapors and actually getting the job done, because the track record with the bullpen with the Phillies, they had, I think, Gregory Soto at one point, which was a really good closer for slash setup pitcher for the Tigers, and then got traded to the Phillies and did barely nothing. So, Phillies, you better use them wisely. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that last year was a down year for Romano. But Romano isn't age 32. He's an age 32 closer.
I think it was
So
battling
yeah,
injuries
you're
last
not
season
going
too.
Yeah, you're not going to expect much. I think he had injuries. Yeah, his ERA was definitely up more toward his rookie ERA. And he kind of had a little bit of a downward set. But I think if he gets back to where he was the previous 2 seasons, I think this move could very well be a very solid B plus, possibly even an A minus, if Romano is as effective as he was the last couple of years prior to this past season. If you're getting 22, 23 Romano, this is an A minus easily. Max Fried is the next one to the New York Yankees. 8 years, $218 million.
I think it's an A minus for Max Fried to the Yankees. As long as he does what he does with the Braves and translates that to the Yankees, I think you have a good shot there.
Oh yeah, Max Fried this season, his win-loss record was 11-10 in 29 starts, had 2 complete games, a shutout, struck out. Oh, what did he strike out here? I'm reading this. I'm trying to read this. I think it's SO. Struck out 166. He's not a strikeout pitcher by any sense of it. But you really need 2021, 2022 Max Fried. Really that age 26 to 28 Max Fried. He'll be in his age 31 season. And I think that the Yankees, depending on how they're able to use him, may very well do something, but AL hitting is no joke. There are a lot of teams in the AL that have players who can mash. And even mash left-handed pitching. So I am not going to really say an A- for Max Fried. I think I'm a little more toward a B-, just simply because AL hitting is no joke. Andres Jimenez was traded to the Toronto Blue Jays. So grade this deal more so on the scale for Toronto, as Andres Jimenez will be now your second baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Okay, my original or my main response to this is just a yawn, because we'll see how it goes. I don't have much hype over this one, but the next one has got me really hyped.
Oh, he is a younger second baseman that has been an excellent defensive player. That, yes, I am going to say that, yeah, he spent a lot of time as a second baseman. He has moved around over to shortstop occasionally, but has not played at short since 2022, when he also finished 6th in MVP voting and was a Gold Glover at second base. So yeah, Andres Jimenez does have some shortstop capabilities, so that can spell Bo Bichette decently if needed. But I think Andres Jimenez is actually going to be a very good player for the Toronto Blue Jays, more so on the defensive side. I think I'm going to give this I'm going to give it a B. I think that this is good. I think that this could be very good for Toronto, especially as he has been very solid defensively. And he's only 26. So he'll be in his age 26 season upon entering this trade. Is it weird for us to no longer see Andres Jimenez as a guardian? Yeah. But I think if Andres Jimenez can have that and potentially turn it around for the Blue Jays, who struggled last season,
Seasons.
anything's possible. Yeah, anything's possible. The next trade, Garrett Crochet. As the Dropkick Murphys will say it, he's shipping up to Boston. As Boston gave up 4 prospects for him.
Okay, go ahead.
And Garrett Crochet. Well, Ruckus, as you kind of started with that, grade the deal.
A plus, because it is literally the blueprint in Belatro, but you add Chris Sale and an ace to it, and now you have Garrett Crochet. You're welcome. And no jinx.
Crochet was an all-star. But he was on the White Sox. So the record on that side of it does not necessarily show. The win-loss is kind of beside the point. The 3.58 ERA, I can dig it. The 209 strikeouts? Oh yeah, that's fine. I just think that the White Sox really had no not really good run support behind Garrett Crochet. And this right here is going to further cement an opportunity for Garrett Crochet to be on a team that has done incredibly well at being able to bring something in. And Breslow was able to make the deal happen. I don't think it's an A plus, but I certainly am going to say that it's at least an A minus. In that the potential, especially with him being in his age 26 season, as long as he doesn't really have too many issues of dealing with injury, the potential, the ceiling is the roof. Thanks to Michael Jordan in saying that. I think there's potential in getting a young pitcher like this for that rotation to be a little more deadlier than what it looks like, or even, I'm not even saying that he could be a starter. He could be very, very effective in the pen. He's got that Smoltz capability. Being effective as a starter and being effective in the pen. And where did John Smoltz end up? Cooperstown.
Sir.
I don't think that Crochet will ever get there, but I think that there's effectiveness potentially on both sides that makes Crochet a lot deadlier than what a lot of people let on. That's why I'm ranking the deal high. Now, this is a deal. This is one of the two deals where we kind of graded out for both sides. The New York Yankees give up Nestor Cortez to the Milwaukee Brewers for Devin Williams. How do we grade it for each side?
I think Devin Williams to the Yankees is probably a more of a stronghold onto what the Yankees could have in their bullpen if Devin Williams is up for the task. It's more of a gamble for the Brewers because Nestor Cortez, he had one season where he was good, and then the other seasons he kind of regressed. So you gotta kind of see if he can prove himself, kind of like Gary Sanchez did for the Brewers back then, and he is proven now to show some leeway there. Also, I feel like it's almost like a reverse in a sense too, like an Uno reverse, where you have before Sabathia was a Yankee, you had him as a Brewer, and Nestor being a Yankee, now a Brewer. It's almost like the flip reverse of that in a sense, but that doesn't really matter. It's more just I think Nestor might uh, find a new home with the Brewers.
But I think here's where my thinking on this whole Devin Williams thing kind of comes in. Is that Devin Williams is definitely a very unique style of pitcher. Isn't necessarily one for the fastball. But here's the main issue that I have for the New York Yankees. They just lost Clay Holmes. And now you now lose Nestor Cortez from your rotation. A really good lefty in his age 30 season. Williams also is 30 in this regard. And you also lose Clay Holmes, who was your closer. So yeah, you're getting Devin Williams as a closer. But Devin Williams has been dealing with a litany of injuries. Nestor Cortez, there's been injuries, but there's also been some underperformance. So, where do you really want to balance this out? I'm going to say for the Milwaukee Brewers, I think you're sitting at about maybe you add a starter at the cost of pretty much your bullpen. It's really who are you going to have in your bullpen to kind of cover to fill the void? I think on both sides it's a C plus. I think you're sitting at a C plus on both sides, simply because there's not enough coverage on either side to properly, for certain instances, the Yankees definitely did cover their base. Meanwhile, the Brewers may or may not have necessarily covered theirs, especially with the loss of a closer. So where am I at in this? I'm going to say a C plus on both sides because Devin Williams I don't think is necessarily a closer type. But Nestor Cortez is a starter when the Brewers probably honestly needed to get a reliever.
All right.
And
next
last
one.
but not least, the Kyle Tucker was traded to the Chicago Cubs for Isaac Paredes. Made this deal. And this is one for both sides where
I think for Kyle Tucker, I don't think he ever played last year, did he? Because due to injury or a couple years ago, I don't remember.
Yeah, Kyle Tucker. Yeah, Kyle Tucker was in for a little bit. He actually had a 4.7 WAR and was hitting all right before he got hurt. And was an all-star.
Because I didn't see much of his progression after he got back from whatever injury he had. So, like, it's more of a gamble for the Cubs. So I'd say that's probably a B minus for the Cubs for Isaac Paredes. Because Paredes, as a Astro, he might value well as far as the right field side when hitting, but other than that, I really don't know what this means for the Astros.
Here's what this is going to mean for the Houston Astros. They are not re-signing Alex Bregman. This means that Alex Bregman is no longer going to be a Houston Astro. However, I think that Bregman has not been playing as well. Paredes, compared to what you're getting with Alex, or what you had with Alex Bregman, that is a downgrade. And as Isaac Paredes is, he's not a main piece to a deal. So yes, I'm going to say this. For the Chicago Cubs, getting Kyle Tucker, who had been surging up to this point. I'll say this. For the Chicago Cubs, this is an A. This is an A. But for the Houston Astros, this is a straight up C. This is a C. Because they downgraded in a position where Alex Bregman has a pretty good chance now of not coming back. And this will hurt the Astros. Meanwhile, the Cubs, especially with the deals they've just made, the Cubs could be even better than what we realize simply for having Kyle Tucker, and especially a potentially healthy Kyle Tucker. All right. And our next bid order of business will be the film room, where we will be making our picks for football. And,
Because I forgot to do it.
well, I think we both have, but we will be starting with college football, as we're going to start with the smaller bowl games that we have that are 1 point. In the Frisco Bowl, the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl, Memphis versus West Virginia. Who you got?
Counting mama, country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia! I was trying to repeat that meme of it's like a bird that's like trying to catch its breath, or it looks like it's like about to breathe, and then it says West Virginia. But anyways, WVU baby.
Memphis is ranked. Memphis is ranked for this bowl game. Just so you are aware. Well, Memphis, I think Memphis, depending on which ranking you're looking at, was ranked. I think Memphis is a better team. And if Neil Brown's even bothering to coach that bowl game, it is absolutely going to be nothing. I'm taking the Tigers here because West Virginia right now, with this current state of affairs, it is sad. Better days are ahead, but the current state, it is sad. I'm taking the Tigers here. I know it's my home state, but at the same time, wait till Rich Rod's in. Take the bowl loss here. The next one, the Cal Golden Bears taking on the Rebels of UNLV in the LA Bowl.
I am picking number 1 Cal.
Taking UNLV. Taking UNLV here. Runner-ups in the Mountain West. And I think they're overall going to be a better team than Cal. And now to our college football the round of 12 games. The first round games. In South Bend, Indiana versus Notre Dame. Who you got?
I have Indiana. Let's go fake Patrick Mahomes.
That's not the school where Dylan Raiola is at.
We're talking Indiana Notre Dame.
Yeah, Dylan Raiola's in Nebraska.
I'm legally blind.
Or you're more at this point right now legally dumb.
Got him!
Taking the Golden Domers at Notre Dame. But you're still taking Indiana here?
Yes, sir.
I was like, does he know that Dylan Raiola is at Nebraska, not Indiana?
I've been on the Balatro mind as of late. But anyways,
The next one. And Happy Valley. SMU, Penn State.
SMU.
We are Penn State. I'm taking one does not simply go into Beaver Stadium and get a dub, especially like this. I'm taking the Nittany Lions here. And now the next one, we head to Austin as Clemson takes on Texas.
I have the Go Hook 'em Horns and Matthew McConaughey going, all right, all right, all right.
Yep, I also am saying hook 'em, as Texas, I believe, will beat Clemson.
Part of me feels like that SEC championship, he was probably telling the Texas coach, like, hey, man, if you do this play right here, the play action shotgun, you might get to Arch Manning and then throw it to Wingo, and then you can say, Wingo, we got a touchdown. That's what I was thinking.
Last but not least, and this one is at Columbus, Ohio State versus Tennessee.
I'm picking.
This is the 8-9.
I'm picking the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Ohio State's pretty good. Don't get me wrong.
Yes, sir.
But I am going to take. I think I'm going to take Tennessee here. I think I'm going to take Tennessee here. An SEC program. The quarterback there has played in big stadiums before and probably one's a lot worse than what the horseshoe would give him. I'm going Rocky Top. I'm taking Tennessee. And now we move on to the NFL. On Amazon Prime this week, Broncos Chargers. Who you got?
Honestly, I think it's the Chargers. Their secondary is better, and their offense has gotten a little bit better. And I don't know how Bo Nix's stability.
A secondary being better after Mike Evans just flat out torched them. And
I still have faith. I still have faith in the Chargers.
And Denver has the best corner in the. Denver having the best corner in the league, and Patrick Surtain the second.
It didn't matter. It doesn't.
I'm taking the Broncos. I'm taking the Broncos.
You're gonna be wanting to charge your phone after that L that you're gonna take here with the Broncos.
The Broncos. The Broncos right now are playing really good football. And yeah, you. The next one here. Texans Chiefs.
I'm picking Texans. Or not Texans, Chiefs. Sorry. How dare I? This is why I'm always causing a ruckus.
Well, I'm at the point of possibly saying, if Mahomes ends up playing, if Mahomes plays, okay, I could see Kansas City taking it. But I also see the Texans being a very resilient team, granted full of mental mistakes and CJ Stroud struggling this season, having a sophomore slump. But I think the Texans could be one of those teams that could come out of nowhere and do something.
I ain't probably got no haters, just like Ice Cube. I ain't got no haters.
Probably with a Kaimi Fair, and I'm going to say potentially with a Kaimi Fairbairn game-winning field goal is where I'm setting.
I ain't got no haters.
And the big game on Saturday will be the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. This one at M&T Bank.
I think the Steelers are going to beat the Ravens to a pulp.
Now, explain.
I think the Steelers, they're going to use their steel strength and take out the Ravens to a point where you might not hear it, caw, and their defense is going to absolutely crush Lamar Jackson.
are aware that TJ Watt has a low ankle sprain.
Who doesn't?
But I am going to take the Ravens here. Number one, this is at home for M&T. Number two, the Ravens. Lamar Jackson has been otherworldly this run. So, yes, Lamar Jackson is playing like an MVP. So, where am I falling in this line? None other than I'm going to take Baltimore at home here. It's not that simple. Oh, the next game. Eagles Commanders.
I got the Eagles because I feel like the defense is more sound, but also the offense is just clicking. I feel like both parts are clicking, not equally, but they're both in their ways, uh, helping for the Eagles win games.
I will say that as a Commanders fan, we have won the last two games kind of by the skin of our teeth. And winning this way does not necessarily help. So I am going to take the Eagles just simply to take the points here, like, and not intentionally take too many points off the board. As much as I would love to see the Commanders at home do something with it, and Marshawn Lattimore is back. So A.J. Brown will have a pretty good chance that he will be held in check because he just played A.J. Brown when he was a New Orleans Saint. So A.J. Brown will see Marshawn Lattimore a second time. But I think the Eagles will just run the football well. I think they're going to switch back to their running the football well and go to the well that way. Our next one is Vikings Seahawks.
I think the Vikings are going to outmatch the Seahawks, especially if the uncertainty of Geno Smith being the starting QB could be Sam Howell. Who knows what's going to happen, but I think Sam Darnold is the more proven quarterback versus Howell, of course. So I have the Vikings taking over.
It will come down to Geno Smith's knee. But I'm going to say Skull as the Vikings will beat the Seahawks. And last but not least, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Dallas Cowboys. Who you got?
I got I do not have Jerry Jones's team, which is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I was trying
I'm taking the Bucks.
I was trying to be facetious there. There we go.
Oh, I'm taking the Bucks. I'm taking the Bucks too. So simple as that. I'm taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. And now we move on to our stud and dud of the week. Ruckus, go ahead and get it started.
Alright, I'll get started with my stud and dud. So my stud for this week for episode 127. Josh Allen, staying consistent in fantasy numbers. Scored 50 last week, and this week he gave fantasy owners 40 points, including me. Giggity. For my dud, I have the Chiefs finally getting a big dud, 21-7 Boring. Also, I would have rather had a problem. I feel like I'm addicted to the fact that the Chiefs are having closer games than necessary, but I mean, the doinker kind of just pissed me off at the end, but I think the Chiefs need to find a middle ground, or at least just not get hurt. For the love of God, it's like either it's like the that red button and the blue button and meme with the guy that's like sweating to figure out which one to go for, and one of them's like, okay,
You mean
well,
you
we
talking
can
the
have a
Bills from
very
the
close.
Matrix?
We can have. Let me finish. We have a very close game where we barely win, or Patrick Mahomes has a random ankle injury, or someone else gets hurt. Which one would you rather have? A close game or an injury? Or, yeah, close game or injury, in a sense.
Yeah, that's why I say you're talking like the pills from the Matrix was kind of where I
Yeah,
was.
red pill or blue pill.
Yep. Well, here is where my stud is. My stud goes to the, and I'm going with, again, the great state of West Virginia, as Berkeley County High Schools, Martinsburg, which is also my old high school, and Spring Mills entering this showdown for the first time in school history for the state championship. Basically putting on a show in the first ever Class Quad A West Virginia State title game. My Dogs won it 24-17. But it is the 11th state title for the Bulldogs in 15 years. So consider that this is the first time, or well, it is the 11th time since 2010. The 2010 season was the first state championship. And it is La Decima, the 10th title for Coach Walker. The only one that Coach David Walker, was not a part of was in 2021, where assistant coach at the time, Britt Sherman, was the head coach. So yes, I am a special shout out to all the people involved from the Martinsburg Bulldogs and the Spring Mills Cardinals, as Berkeley County had it was an all Berkeley County final for the first ever Quad A state championship. And I could not have been any prouder of both of those programs, because Spring Mills has only been around since 2013. So for them to have developed this program over a span of 12 years is impressive. But my dud this week, I gotta roast it here. Former NBA player, played for multiple teams, but notably won a couple of championships with the Houston Rockets. And inside the NBA analyst, Kenny the Jet Smith, which out of the three major analysts on the inside crew, you had Shaq, who had a career 52.7% free throw. The Chuckster was around 70%. Kenny the Jet was a career 83, well, really 82.9, but 83 is kind of the round number here, percent free throw shooter in a penalty kick style free throw shootout with Stephen A. Smith. Kenny the Jet gets beat 3-1. And Stephen A. Smith is known for pretty much being a blowhard that doesn't know sometimes when to shut his yap. But Kenny the Jet Smith, of course, famously, it's over. It's over. Let's go home. And talking about Blake Griffin's dunk contest, Vince Carter's dunk contest. I'm sorry, Stephen A. Smith kind of put the it's over to Kenny the Jet Smith in this free throw contest. And it looked bad for Kenny Smith because he was missing back iron on a lot of them.
Good. I could admit that too.
What?
Like, his form is just not great at all.
Who, Kenny the Jet or Stephen A?
Kenny the Jet. More like Kenny the let's keep on the tarmac because we don't know if he'll go back up again or if he'll break.
Yeah. But to get beat by Stephen A, that who really never played pro basketball at all. I think he might have had a little bit of college and definitely some high school. So Stephen A. Smith actually, it was found out that really Stephen A. can shoot. He can play. He's not a terrible foul shooter at all. As we've come to find out. Gotta give Stephen A. props somewhere here. Ruckus, go ahead and take us out.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Ruckus and The Menace Sports Podcast. I am Ruckus, always Cousin Ruckus.
And I'm Spence the Menace.
And this is episode number 127. Thank you for listening to our podcast, the best sports podcast in the land. Well, for most people. I'm Ruckus, always Cousin Ruckus.
I'm Spence the Menace. Deuces.